said, so long, carry on, cause the devil wants to take me for a ride.
I'm gonna have like a legitimate, like a religious
Like a
wedding
real-
with people later on, but I just want to get a jump on the immigration stuff. We already, I'm looking at it and we're already having our first marital fight over whether or not I should get an immigration lawyer. Cause I'm like, no, I can do it myself. And she goes, no, you need to get a lawyer. And I'm like, I can fucking do it myself.
I wouldn't do it myself, but don't let me stop you. I'm just like we're the when you like look at certain projects. Actually, this should are we recording?
Yeah. I started
All
anyway.
right, good. So then it started. Because I think this should maybe be the first topic. Then sometimes you look at a project and you just like, where the fuck do I even start? Like the fact that you're even thinking about doing your own immigration lawyer paperwork is I wouldn't even know where to begin with that. So I do think you're a little bit insane for doing it.
YouTube. So my cousin, I swear to God, my cousin's got married last year. His wife is from Iran and she's going through it now. And she's like, she sent me a YouTube tutorial, step by step, itemization of every form you needed. And she goes, look, I'll walk you through it. Send me everything you have. I'll check it before you even send it in. She's very methodical. And so I'm just being cheap because it's with all the fees, it's like $3 to $4 grand just for the application. And then for a lawyer, it's like another $4 grand. So
Jeez.
I'm just, dude, the lawyer, you're just paying them to fill the shit out for you. It's all you're doing.
Right.
It's not like they're going to court and they're like, this person is actually fucking my Bain.
Because that's that's kind of what I was picturing. But they're just filling out the paperwork for you.
Yeah, they fill out all these forms, and it's really just it's the government, man. It's so bureaucratic and it's so dude. It's like fill out an I-330 form, an I-331, an I-487. It's just bureaucratic debauchery.
I do think it's getting worse without a doubt, but I do think it's a function of us getting older as well. When I was younger, I just didn't give a shit about this kind of stuff. But the older I get, I'm like, no, this is fucked up. And you shouldn't have to jump through 900 hoops to do like every little fucking thing. And there shouldn't be 800 committees overseeing you. Like, we need less government, but it's like once an entity exists, like a government agency exists, they don't go away. I think it was Reagan that said it. He said something like, the creation of governmental agencies is the closest thing we will see to eternal life that ever walks this earth.
Yeah, there's no, dude. It's like income tax and toll booths. Yeah, there's never been a toll booth that they took away.
We just put it up just to pay for the bridge. That's it. Once the bridge is paid, it's gone. Yeah, they've never removed a toll booth.
It doesn't go.
Fast pass going in or something.
I get the immigration stuff. You want to vet people, but what's weird about what I'm doing is it's a really intense process. But so in one hand, it's like my girl's a decent, upstanding, educated member of society who works. Same thing with my cousin's wife. Not saying that everyone sneaking over the border isn't, because some of them are and some of them aren't. But like, if I just had her, if I paid a coyote, I think it's $5 grand is what I've been told, to just smuggle her across the border, that would be
it'd be easier.
Yes, not only because I won't get into too much. I can only speak so much about this.
You might get raped, but outside of that, I'm like, that's $5 grand well spent.
But I know someone who snuck someone in, and it was, I think, $4 grand to get them over the border. And then as soon as she was in, the government just gave her $5 grand. So immediately he made his money. So immediately they go, here's a bank account, here's $5 grand, and we're signing you up for everything. And like, I talked to my wife, and I go, all right, we got 3 options. Option number one, we do it the legit way. Option number two, I sneak you in. Option number three, we apply for 90-day fiance. She hates being on camera, fucking hates it. So I think I'm gonna have to go with the first one. She's not a walk across the border type.
Real diva, you got yourself there.
Yeah.
That's insane. If you come in illegal, instead of it costing you $4,000 to do the paperwork, you're just given $5,000.
Yeah, no, you don't have to do anything. They sign you up and you're good to go.
Fuck it, let's go sneak into Canada.
Canada's falling apart too. You know what's funny?
Oh no, I know. I'm just saying, just to get the $5,000. But like, I know it's
all the places that were on my where to go when the US shits the bed, they all fucking suck now too. Canada, Western. I wanted to go to Ireland was my escape plan. Ireland fucking sucks. It's worse than the US is. So
I've been hearing about them all week and the Conor McGregor thing. Good to see a return to masculinity, not for Conor, but just in general. I feel like guys are finally starting to wake up like, hey, there's some fucked up shit. Maybe I should say something, you know?
It's weird. You ever think, sometimes I think like if our grandfathers or great grandfathers, like how much it would hurt their brains. Cause it even hurts me. It hurts me when I encounter certain stuff where a person allows himself to be preyed upon. And I can't fathom it. Like, I don't know how to interpret it.
I think that the great majority of our grandparents would be like ashamed. It like what walks this country now. Like what, you know, like it's bananas how weak we've become.
It's pretty on par for the current situation. I have to, it's what's weird. Okay. So when my wife came to visit me, she's only been to the US twice, and she came for 2 weeks in June. She just came for 2 weeks now. And so far she's just seen rural New Hampshire, Boston, and we went to New York City for a couple of days. And what's weird is we're going around Boston, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't do in the city.
What country is she from?
Colombia.
Okay.
And people are like, they're sissies, but they're really rude for sissies. Like I'm blown away how rude people are for how weak they are. Because it used to be, if you're going to be rude, you had to be a mean motherfucker.
It up.
Like if it used to be, if somebody was rude, I'd have to go, oh, he could hurt me, so he gets to be rude. But we're in Boston, and I'm losing my temper because every time people are going through a door, so you know, normally someone goes in front of you, they push the door, you kind of hold the door for the next guy, and so on and so forth. You put the hand up, just the hand, put the hand up. Every person in front of me, especially with younger people, especially when we go to the Harvard museums, they duck in the door, slams in my face, full slam.
It's more effort to do that. It's more effort to do that.
Full slam every fucking time. And I'm trying to not be a grumpy dude, but it's getting to me. I'm not. I can't
say that. That was great how you phrased that. You said they're very rude for how weak they are.
Yes,
that's a fantastic way to describe it.
Used to use, yeah, because you can't. I almost have to respect the audacity, because I would like, there were people I knew that I couldn't talk to a certain way growing up.
Yes.
And then I meet people who just never. I go, what's it like not to have that governor in your head that goes, that goes, oh, getting close to an ass whooping, getting close.
Like Chris Rock says the thing about, like, he's talking about like men and women fighting, and but he draws the analogy of, he goes, there's certain places when I'm arguing with a man, if that man is bigger than me, okay, this is the limit. This is where we push to. And I'm like, yes. And it's like, that governor is just fucking, it's not there for some people. That's not bravery. That's stupidity.
Yeah. Well, it's, you know what it is? It's like, how am I going to put this? It's like a house cat that gets outside and kind of starts something with a street cat, and then the street cat rips a hunk of his ear out, and it doesn't know Like, what is this? And it's like, oh, that's just a lot of people just haven't. I mean, well,
I think
Boston's different now.
I think this is funny. Like this touches that principle, but like, how do I say it? Like, I obviously don't like to fight, but I also understand the concept that fist fighting is a thing that could occur in society. Like, I wrap my brain around it, and I also have that thing of like, I'm not going to mouth off to some dude that would clearly rip my fucking head off. But I remember this one time, I was at a gas station, and I pulled into the gas station because I had a completely flat tire and you needed quarters for the machine, for the air machine. And I look in my change compartment and all I have is nickels, dimes, and pennies. So I grabbed I counted out $1. You needed $1 worth of quarters. And I just went up and I gave this guy I don't know, 25 coins that totaled, or 20 coins that totaled $1. And I go, hey, if I can get some quarters for the machine, and I drop them into the slot, and this guy went fucking ballistic.
Over coins?
Over coins. It went from 0 to 100 like that. And he's screaming at me through the glass as he's giving me the quarters. And he's like, I don't even know what he's saying. He was yelling at me in some foreign language. And I'm like, as I'm taking the coins, I just, you go fuck yourself. And he's like, what? I'm like, you can go fuck yourself. And I was like, I sized the guy up. I wasn't scared of him. But as I said this to him the second time, I really looked him in the eyes. I'm like, fuck you, All of a sudden, he opened up the door and came out of the vestibule. And I was like, I didn't know that was allowed. I thought you were just inside here and just take it. And we were just going to, I'm like, this class is like the internet. There's no consequences. I wasn't scared of the guy. But I also was like, what am I going to do? Fucking fist fight this guy at the gas station over quarters? I said, whatever, just let it go. But it hits to that point of like, no, you say stuff to people, there can be consequences.
Yeah, it's you just reminded me of something. I don't know if you remember this, but years ago, I think it was after something at the Comedy Vault or Nick's. We read Nick's. We went to the Intermission Tavern, and the cook tried to fight you. And it just,
someone has that on video. It has
it was me. It was on my old fucking phone, and then my phone got lost. My phone's broken, so I don't have. It was on a flip phone, dude. This was.
I remember that. He got into Dustin's face. Tom Dustin accidentally knocked over a sign that was. It was a sandwich
right next to us,
and it was on its last leg. I know it doesn't make sense, but the sandwich board, it was if you walked by it, it fell apart. And he threw a temper tantrum on Dustin. And then I was near the thing and it just fell. And he went fucking nuts and threw me out. But what? I know what it was. I'm going back and forth and I'm in his face. And this was the thing that was fucked up. He provoked me. I was not going after the guy, but he literally took me and he fucking threw me into the street. Do you remember that?
I remember this clear as day. I remember we were right inside that window.
I died. That's all there was to it. He was gigantic. But I went back at him and I was like, whatever. I got back in the guy's face. I'm sorry, go on.
Somebody just accidentally was standing there, knocked the sandwich board. It falls down. It's it's a weekend, so there's a lot of people in there. The waitress comes over. Oh, gives us a little bit of attitude, and we're like, oh, sorry. Happens again. She comes back. Can you guys move? And we're like, yeah, sorry. And you made a very friendly joke, and then I don't know if it was the second or third time, but I'm pretty sure it was just the second time. She boots us. And we're like, what? And then the guy, for some reason, this guy who was in the kitchen in back storms out to the front, just miserable, and starts trying to fight with us. We end up outside. He zones in on you. You didn't say, I kept defending you because a lot of people were like, Zollo must have fucking said something. I go, no, he didn't. This dude zoned, just picked you, threw you. I remember him talking shit. And I could see you have that. Am I going to do this? And you were like, this is beneath me. And he goes, I'm going to fuck your girlfriend. You go, yeah, tough for you, buddy. I don't have a girlfriend. And I was like,
I remember that. I was like, I wanted to. He threw that. I was like, He's like, oh, fuck your girl, and I'm like, joke's on you. I ain't got no girl. I remember that. Uh, I just was pissed. He threw me into the street. That guy. That's why I like went back at him.
Well,
And
it's part
like
of
if the
growing up.
car was coming, I just died. That's all there is to it. I just died.
You know what I realized was tough for me was letting those things go. And you know what did it? This I'm gonna tell you, and it's funny, but it's very fucked up at the same time. You ever seen the show The Boondocks?
No.
It is a satirical cartoon. It was on, the guy had a comic strip in major newspapers, like I think it was the New York Times, Boston Globe for a while. It was like two young black boys who live with their grandfather, and one is very revolutionary, and the other one is kind of just into like ghetto culture. And it was them always bickering, and they made it a TV show. It was really good. And there's a scene where he explains what he calls a nigger moment is. And it's when two black dudes or whatever, somebody who's hood goes down the street, they bump into each other, and they're like, oh, you step on my shoes? And they fight, and then they end up shooting each other. And he goes, how does this affect an old white dude? And he bumps into an old white guy, and he goes, oh, you got a fucking problem? And he goes, oh, I'm white. And he just walks away. And I realized that it doesn't have to be a racial thing. It's really just hey, oh, when am I going to roll around in the street? And the guy says to him, he goes, what are you doing walking away from me? This is a perfect chance for you to throw your life away. And I always remember that. Like, oh, is this how I'm going to throw my life away? Is because some guy bumped me hard on the train. And I go, is this it? Is this how I go out? Is on the red line at fucking rush hour? Because I don't want to get stabbed that way.
All right. So I still have trouble walking away from those things, but I do walk away from them. As you talk about being on the red line, and this was on the blue line. I remember once, it was the day that I filmed that. I don't know if you remember it. I did that Dunkin' Donuts ad campaign with Julian Edelman. Do you know about that?
Yeah. I remember you
So
telling me
just
about that.
basically we walk around the city of Boston and we busted people's balls all day. And then after like 3 hours that they held a talk show with Edelman, and I kind of facilitated it. And
Do you get
it was
into it with Edelman?
it was a cool day. I was like really happy with it. It was, for Dunkin' Donuts, like the most Boston brand out there. And it was just a fun day. Like it was just a happy day, like, hey, that was great. And I get onto the train, and I have like a duffel bag with a change of clothes over my shoulder, and the train's moving, and it stops, and you're holding the thing, and you kind of sway, and like I swayed into this guy, and I forget exactly what he said to me, but he was like, "Just don't ever fucking do that again," or something, and I'm like, "What?" And I'm like, and like the level of rage that just popped up in my body, and I'm clenching my fists, and I'm like, I don't know that I can beat this guy up. Like he was pretty good size, and I'm like, I might be able to beat this guy up, but I'm like, if I fucking punch him first, like I'm the jerk. But this guy is clearly provoking me. And like my bag touched him, and he gave me like a fucking look, and I was like, I wanted to murder him. And I was just like, just let it
I like
go.
that the rage is coming back. I can see it in you. I can see the rage gripping you to this day as
Oh, dude,
you
like
hold the table and your laptop
just
moves.
like, and yet it's that moment where you're like, I mean, this guy was good size. Like you can size people up and know if you're going to be able to either take them, or if this is going to be difficult, or that kind of a thing. I was like, I don't know that I can beat this guy, but I'm like, it would be worth trying. But I was just like, you can't do it. Like the amount of bullshit that comes with it, you just gotta sometimes you gotta just fucking eat it. It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. It does suck. And it used to bother me my whole life, because I always think, oh, now you're a pussy. Now you're a victim. Someone's going to take advantage of you. Everyone, like, you think but like, honestly, I was on the red line, and I saw some dude, grown man, start shit with another guy who was sitting next to him. But no, like on rush hour, and the guy gets up, and he just, he stands up for himself, and they're having a back and forth. Finally, he goes, you know what? He gets up, goes to another seat, and a woman, before she got off the train, went over and like shook his hand. And I couldn't fully hear what she said, but It's along the lines of, I'm proud that you did the right thing. You should be proud of yourself. Cause it's like, what are you gonna,
Yeah.
fucking, like, there's a time, like sometimes you got to do it, but at the same time, you're just like, that's
I sort of had one of those moments happen, but it was with a homeless guy. I was walking down the street once, right next to the vault, right in front of the vault. This dude just fucking hopped out and was like, "Rah, rah," like just to fuck with me, and I clenched my fist and turned,
that is kind of funny. It would piss
fucking.
me off too, but I would love if I seen it done to
I
somebody.
remember I just cocked back and I made a fist and I stared at him and I sized up the situation and I was like, he's a homeless crazy person, like let it go. And I just walked right past him and some dude walked up to me and he said something like, you did the right thing. He's like, that was good that you held back. And I was like, well, thank you. I mean, that's not going to really do all that much for me, but it helped to relieve some of the anger that.
Well, what's funny is I think it's a proud thing when you as a guy can get to that where you go, because it means you value your life, and it means you actually, because when I had nothing to live for, I was like, yeah, fuck it, it's
Right.
yeah, big, all right, whatever, like life ain't. But when you go, hey, I got something I care about not to do this for, that's a good thing, and I've been able, but also now that I have a wife, now that I have someone I'm responsible to, I had to realize, oh, like if somebody did that to her, oh, I do it.
Oh,
Oh, like if somebody,
yeah.
then it's, and I'm like, oh, now I will be on the
Then it doesn't
news.
matter about like, oh, well, I might have to deal with law consequences. Like, no, you pound the fucking shit out of the guy that hits her. Like, yeah,
He doesn't even have to hit her. He just have to be foul to her, and then I go, all right, it's on. I have to, even if I lose, just just
yeah,
just to keep her from, just to keep her still my wife. Because
right.
if I think if we ever had a moment where some guy said something to her and then I bitched out, I'd be like, oh, you're not gonna, I wouldn't love me. You sure as fuck ain't gonna love me. I'm not getting the sex will not be the same. Like there's a
Yeah, and it's like the punches in the face aren't worth. The punches in the face are nothing compared to the bullshit that you open up by not doing something.
it's
I always think this is not funny. I think this is great, actually. My parents don't exactly have the most, I don't know, television or movie romance filled
fairy tale marriage.
marriage you've ever seen in their life. It's not like they were at each other's throats or anything, but it, it's not what you describe as a passionate filled, you know, love affair, like that, whatever you want to call it. But I remember like it's probably about 10 years ago. So my father was like in his, I don't know, early 70s, mid 70s. They went on vacation someplace. They went on a sightseeing tour. And my mother said something to the tour guide while the guy was like, it was like the equivalent of a duck tour. Like it was like an open air vehicle tour, whatever they were doing. She asked like some question to the tour guide, and another passenger piped up and gave my mother like ridiculous attitude, like, lady, just shut up and enjoy the ride like everyone else. Enough with the questions. And she said, your father got up and got in this guy's face. And like my father, he has a fucking rage about him that like, I mean, I've watched a lot of rage, and my father's like a first ballot Hall of Fame rage guy when it surfaces. And she's like, the way he went over with like silent rage, he was like, you fucking listen here. If you ever fucking open your mouth to my wife again. And now I see my parents like, I don't know, 2 weeks later or whatever, like after this trip, and to watch my mother glow, she's like, and then your father went up and said this to the guy. And I was like, I have never seen you like this. Or like she was like beaming. And it was like 2 weeks later. And I was like, that shit's important to women. It is.
It is. I remember walking home when I was living in Boston. I was thinking I was in Jamaica Plain, and some guy was like just starting fights with people in the street, just random people like, fuck you, hey man, fuck you. And he did to me, and I was not in a good space. And like I said, go fuck your mother. And he goes, go fuck your mother. And then I slapped him in the middle of the street. And some guy, and he like was like, no, no, please, please. And I was like, oh. And like a guy driving by, this Puerto Rican dude had been like, oh, remember you were talking that shit earlier? Like it was, and it was great. He like everyone hated this dude, and I was the only one who took the time to make him stop harassing people. And I told my girlfriend at the time, and she gave me shit, but also She didn't like it. I could tell there was a little, I don't know how to explain it, but there was a little something of, oh, like,
Right.
I'm not gonna, you could protect me. It
Um, I remember this once. I was on a first date and I was at a comedy show and uh Paul Gilligan went on stage. I was middling and Paul Gilligan went on and the crowd, it was in Lawrence, which is a fucking shithole. And the crowd was like, how to describe it. I did the job is how I would say it is like, it went well. Uh, but I could hear the people in the back of the room talking, which pisses me off. And they're too far away to address it. So now I'm like, well, I want to watch Gilligan. And I'm on like this first date. So I said to her, like, we'll have a drink, we'll watch my buddy, and then we'll get out of here. And these this like group of parents in the back was just having an outright conversation while Gilligan's on stage, and it's just infuriating me. So I just looked over and I just go, "You can keep it down, that the headliner's on. If you could just keep it, it would be great." And they're like, they just brushed me off, like no regard. Never mind the fact that I was literally just on stage. Like I think there's an ounce of respect that should maybe be paid to me. One as a human being, but two as a performer that was just on the show. And they brushed me off. And like maybe a minute later, they're just fully engaged in the conversation. And I just turned to them and I go, "Hey guys, if you could just," and they fucking, like, I just went like this, like, and they're like, "Yeah, what are you going to say about it?" And I'm like, now I feel turned on. And I'm like, motherfucker. And I'm like, I want to cause a scene, but Gilligan's on stage. But I'm like, I just want them to be quiet. That's all I'm like. I just want them to not talk through the show while the headliner's on. And I go like this. I wave them over, and I was looking like, look, I'm not trying to cause a problem here. I'm like, I just look the guys on stage. There's people that paid money for this. You got, and like that's all I want to do with them. And these two guys follow me over, and we get like away from the comedy area. We're in this side room, and I just want to talk to them. I go, listen. And all of a sudden, I watch how they approach me. They both corner me from different sides. And I'm like, oh, they want to fucking fight. And I'm like, and I instantly size them up. And I'm like, I don't say this arrogantly because I'm not like fucking Joe Tough Guy, despite the past 15 minutes of this podcast being about all the fights that we've gotten into. But I look at this one dude and I'm like, one of them, I'm like, boom, done. Like, you're fucking nothing. And then I'm like, this guy, not much of an effort would be required to go in. So I know how insane this sounds, but I'm like, I will beat the shit out of these two people. One of them poses zero threat, and the other one poses like 1% threat. And I was like, I want to fight these guys. And I was like, but here's what went through my head. I'm like, even though I'm in the right and they're cornering me and like imposing themselves to me, like, yeah, do something. I'm like, if I defend myself, I might get out of this okay in terms of like the world of comedy being like, oh God, did you hear those two people, fought Don Zollo at the show? Like, I get out of that. But
I think that's a good reputation personally.
but here's my thing. 5 years later, that happens again. Now it's like, this is the second time he fought the audience. Like, and I was like, I put my hands up, I walked right in between them. I went over, I grabbed my date, and I just tapped her on the shoulder, go, I can't explain. We've got to leave right fucking now. And I just grabbed her and walked out. And that's just like what my brain was like, my instincts were telling me to do. But then I look back on it like the next day and I was like, that probably came off really masculine. Like that probably came off like, you know, like
well, I
this guy
mean,
was going to
did
fight
she
two
fuck
guys.
you? I
What?
mean, did she fuck you?
Not that evening,
Uh,
but
but you eventually, right? Like that's the true
yeah,
test. If it worked.
shortly thereafter. But I was like, I like I wasn't thinking about it. It's just what I did. And then I'm like, after the fact, I'm like the next day, I was like, that probably worked in my favor. Like, the way that it was all handled. But I don't know. That's just when your instincts kick in. I'm like, if I had to analyze that, I don't know that I would be doing that. Actually, yeah, I guess I guess I kind of did have instincts and have brain power in that, because I had enough wherewithal to be like, even though I want to fight these guys because they were no threat whatsoever. Like these were like 130-pound guys, and out of shape 130-pound guys. I'm like, I still had enough wherewithal to know that I couldn't beat people up at a comedy show.
Well, I mean, some people don't even have that at work. So, I mean, although you were allowed to get in fights at work for a much longer time, you know, there was a point where my union finally said, no more fit. Like if you've hit another member, you're out. It was a sad day. I'm going to be honest. It
I'm
changed
trying
things.
to think of if I don't think I've ever worked at a job where people fist fought each other.
No,
No, I don't think not. I don't think that's ever happened. If it ever did happen, it would have happened when I was working at Kelly's Roast Beef, and I don't remember it ever happening there.
I could, dude, a nice, you slap somebody in the face with a roast beef sandwich. That it, if there's ever,
We fucked with each other all the time. That's a different thing. But like, I don't think there was one fight between the workers ever.
really,
Of any job I've ever had.
oh
That's
wow,
weird.
I've seen a lot of very close altercations that got broken up. Some that a couple on site, and then heard about some others that happen after people leave. You know,
I can't believe I've never seen that. That's kind of weird now that I think about it. I mean, like, I don't think it's beyond comprehension that you physically fight somebody at your work, but
I just watched a video of a bunch of contractors around Boston beating the shit out of each other with their helmets. So it's with their hard hats. It's it doesn't happen as much, but it's also
a different breed.
It's also I think it comes with where we're living as well.
Where?
Yeah, as
Yes.
in I think there's a certain higher level of anger in the Boston area than anywhere else, as I'm sure you know, having moved.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's one of the reasons that I moved. I'm like, I don't like how angry we are as Boston people, and I mean, guilty. Like, I get.
I saw you. You wanted to hurt someone when you just retelling that story.
It's just, yeah. I think about this. One of the last straws that broke the camel's back with me moving from Boston was I was near the Common and I was looking for a parking spot, and I didn't do anything wrong. I did nothing wrong. I'm like, I saw a parking spot. It's on the left. You have to parallel park. I put my left blinker on. I'm slowing down. It wasn't like I abruptly stopped. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror as I'm starting the parallel parking process. And there was this Indian woman behind me, like in her mid-50s. And as soon as I put my blinker on, I could see her. She was like, and it reminded me of Corey Rodriguez has a bit about, like, he's like, you ever in front of those unreasonable motherfuckers in traffic where he's like, you put your blinker on and you see them in the rear view. And he's like, what? I can't go right. I can't go. And I'm like, that's all I did was I had the audacity to want to park, and I could see how upset she was, and it bothered me. And
that bothered you?
Oh,
I would have taken pleasure in fucking her day up.
So here's the thing. She starts to scoot by me and she's still moving her hands and flailing like this. And I turned and, like, with every ounce of my soul, I just gave her the finger, like, fuck you. Like, as hard as I like it was going to hit her harder. And I was just like, being like, I don't like being like this.
It's not a good feeling. Doesn't it suck?
But I'm like, she was provoking me, but I was like, do you think she was like that? I don't know, back in India? Like, or do you think that, like, Boston just got to her?
I think I think the potential to be that way was there, but I think Boston got to her because I went through this, like I said, when my wife was in town, and I've gone through amazing lengths to chill out. Amazing lengths of sobriety and therapy and reading different books and meditation and prayer and going to the fucking Amazon to puking my brains out with a shaman in the fucking jungle just to come back and for Boston to still fucking just, and then to have to drive in Boston and Boston is weird because it's like a city that hates you. It's like it's its own ecosystem and is trying to kill us. Like we're parasites, even though we're supposed to be here. I'm supposed to live here. But every time I drive, I go to a rotary. Hey, guess what? Now the rotary is one lane. So fuck you. Oh, hey, guess what? Huntington Ave, one lane. Now it's a bus lane, a bike lane.
Huntington Ave is
Hey.
such a fucking pile of shit with the fucking built-in subway tracks into the road. Like, have you seen that in any other place in the country
I
where the
describe
train
it
runs
to
up the
people.
street? Like, I don't mean it runs at street level. It runs in the street.
And then when your wheels hit the rails, especially when it's raining out, you slide all over the fucking road.
To have like a fucking train breathing down your neck, I'm like, this is fucked up. Like, that's insane to me. I talk to people in Arizona when I'm on stage, and like, I'm just like, you don't know how good you have it here. I'm like, you guys have no traffic, and they're like, they all get fucking upset because I say there's no traffic, and I'm like, if you think this is traffic, you're out of fucking mind. This is nothing.
It's not. There's something about, and you know what it is? It's because I've noticed that the happiest people are people who usually live in warmer climates, right? They usually live longer too, because the area around them isn't trying to always kill them, right? So when you live in a colder area, you're more likely to be emotionally constipated or angry because once a year, Mother Nature tries to fucking kill you with the winter. But Boston adds on the fact that the city itself is like, are you trying to have a life? Subway broken, trains on fire, walk the track. Oh, what's that? Are you going to drive there? Bike lane. Oh, do you remember when there used to be parking here? Not anymore. Fuck you. It's just like a weird torture device and it builds up. And then somebody cuts you off and people are mean. Everyone just is trying to get it stomped like crabs in a bucket on the next guy. And before you know it, you're just that red-faced dude who's just screaming. And some young person goes, what the fuck's this guy's problem? It's just life.
Dude, like, again, this isn't any awful story, but I do think about this and I'm like, why did that bother me so much? This summer, I was getting ready to do capo in Southie, and
already, it's not going to end well.
I don't know how to describe it. I'm just in a really great mood. Like, I'm just in a happy mood.
And you went to capo to fuck it up? What's wrong with you, dude?
Exactly. So I get there like way early.
Hey guys, so heads up, I lost Don for a second. Having issues with the program I normally use. They changed some stuff around. So just, bear with me. Happens one more time in the future. I'm sorry. I'm gay. Technology is tough. I'm having a hard time. Fuck you. Whatever. Sorry.
So I know we broke momentum there, but
that's fine. We're talking about how we get soaked in rage and the escape
that
from
made me
it.
want to leave. Believe me, this is no awful, tragic, iconic story, but it was just like, for some reason, this just fucking stayed with me for like a month. It was like, it definitely was like sprinkles on top of my decision to want to leave. I was going to go do capo in Southie, and I'm just having a really good day. Like, I don't know, nothing happened to make it a great day. I was just in an awesome mood, just really happy. And I show up to South Boston Broadway, like, I don't know, 45 minutes before the show. And I'm like, I'll just go for a walk. I'll listen to music, or I'll listen to some jokes that I've been trying to work out. And I'm walking down the street. I just got bounce in my step. I have my headphones in, and I see this woman walking towards me, and she's got her headphones in. And I just look up and I make eye contact with her and I smile. That's all I did. It was like the kind of 2 or 3 finger wave, like, just nodded at her, smiled, and she did this. She's just walking towards me. She goes, and I fucking lost it inside. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, I wasn't like, you over here, baby. Like, I didn't try to talk to her. I had my headphones in. She had hers in. I just smiled at her. That's all I did.
And that's what wrecked you, was just the The eye
just
roll.
I could see her, like I could see her sigh, roll her eyes, and she put her head up to the side, but she couldn't even be bothered with looking at me. And I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Like, what is wrong with the people here? You know, like I was just like, I didn't do anything wrong. I was so like, you could feel how happy I was walking down the street, you know, and like I was like, fuck these people. I'm just done with
You
this.
can't
Like,
you can't let them take it from you. You can't let them take that
oh,
from
I
you,
let her
Don.
take it. Without a doubt, I let her take it.
You
I'm
got
still talking about it.
you
I
got,
don't know, 5 months later.
you gotta fight. I love that if anyone asks you like what brought you to Arizona and you're like this one fucking cunt. It was a Wednesday night in South Boston
Yeah.
on Broadway and this fucking cunt. And after that I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
I just, it's an angry group of people. It really is.
Well,
And
there's
then you
something about
contrast
the
it to
city.
a place that's actually friendly or nice, and it's like, oh my God, it's just a night and day difference. It's not like I went to New York. New York people are equally as rude, you
They're not
know?
as angry though. I can tell you as somebody who's lived in both places, everyone likes to say New Yorkers are angry. I've had conversations with New Yorkers in on the subway or in an elevator or waiting in a bodega for food where you just go, "Hey, how's it going?" Yeah, just friendly banter, which you used to be able to do in Boston, not anymore because everyone is disconnected because young
Yeah,
people don't know how to be
not
human
at all.
beings. And but also the affluent newcomers disgusted like that eye roll. It's like is one of the peasantry speaking to
Yeah,
me. is
maybe
this
maybe that's what I felt.
is
Maybe
this
that's what I felt.
surf? Is
Yeah,
it see I always in my mind when I meet a girl like that, I know I'm better than she is, so it can't bother me. I just have to create a separate metric. Like, yeah, you have more money than me, but I have a better soul than you do. So there we go. All right.
and I realized what a tiny snapshot it was, and who knows? Maybe this person's fantastic, but I was just like,
No, she's a cunt. She's a bitch. Don't let her out of this.
that
All
should be
right.
the name of a podcast. No, no, she's a cunt.
You good people don't do that. Even if you're having a bad day, here's what you do. No engagement. You give them nothing. But to be like, oh, that's you know what that is, Don? That's a Boston 7. You're a 4 anywhere else in America, but here you think you're a fucking 7. Usually they think they're a 10, and you think I'm trying to fuck you because I get that in that area a lot. Those girls all think everyone's trying to fuck them, and a lot of the dudes are,
I
but
was gonna say, in their defense, it's often accurate.
I am disgusted by them. You know, we talked about growing up, and you get to a point where you go, I'm not going to throw my life away over a silly fight. I'm not going to waste my time letting somebody take something from me. There's an important point as a man where you do that with pussy too, where you go,
Oh,
oh, yeah, I wouldn't fuck you. Like
right.
old me would, young me would, but you're ugly in here.
Yes.
Your soul is dirty. I can smell it. It stinks like raw cabbage.
My tolerance for that attitude is so fucking low, it's beyond belief. Like, if I pick up major cunt vibes, I'm just like, yeah, I cannot be bothered. I don't care how good looking you are. Like it, whereas like 25-year-old me will be like, keep it coming. I don't care. You'd be
Yeah,
amazed with what I can withstand.
young guys will sit there, and not all, but many of us, and I was there. I certainly was. A lot of young dudes will just go, "Oh, well, I don't." You could be like, "Oh, that's a horrible person." They're like, "I don't care. Yeah, I
Right.
don't. She's just sucking my dick. It doesn't matter." But over time, you realize that the more time you spend fooling around with those broads, the more you as corny as it sounds, you kind of lose portions of yourself every time you do it with them.
I just,
You just little by little, it just chips away. Chips like you hang
yeah,
out with them, they
this,
say something, you're just like, what am I doing?
right. No, I agree with that. What else about that? Yeah, I think
Well,
I think that wraps up that one.
I didn't even introduce you. Don Zollo, uh,
It was,
amazing comedian. But you're in Arizona now, right? You in
yeah,
Phoenix, Scottsdale?
Scottsdale,
Oh,
which is like a
Scottsdale's
suburb
nice.
of Phoenix, which by the way, Scottsdale's huge.
Yeah.
It's at least 20 miles. Like that's a big city.
Scottsdale is its own place. I've been there a couple of times. I honestly have never been to Phoenix. I've been to Scottsdale though, and excuse me, it's a good it it's a fun vibe. It's got its own weird things going on. If just like anywhere else, plenty of meth and drugs. But that's America. What do you think? You're gonna escape fentanyl?
I mean,
No,
I haven't seen like so far. I haven't seen 1 ounce of drugs since I've been here.
really.
Yeah, homelessness is almost non-existent out here, as far as I'm concerned. At
Hmm.
least compared to what I've seen. I'm
Maybe
like,
they're in Phoenix.
what?
Maybe they're just in Phoenix.
I've been
Maybe
there.
Scottsdale just scoops them up with a tractor, brings them out
I've
to the
been
desert.
downtown Phoenix, and don't get me wrong, I saw homeless, but it wasn't like I saw a lot of them. Like, I mean, they were scattered, but it wasn't like an overwhelming number by any stretch.
I watch this thing that's called like Tales from the Street sometimes, and the guy's based out of Phoenix, so he's always interviewing people there. I think out west they got space, so it doesn't feel like they're on top of you, so they can go like live under a storm drain, as opposed to Boston where it's just like, oh, or New
Right.
York City where you go, I guess I'm just smelling some dude's feet on the 3 train. It's just what we're doing. You
That's what's
just
going to
this
happen.
this is my transportation. Apparently, it's also your home,
I had
and we'll just have to meet in the middle.
I had a homeless person interaction that blew my mind about a month ago. I was in downtown Phoenix. I was having lunch with my brother who was in town for the day. And we were at this restaurant and it was really hot out. It was like, I don't know, 95, 100. And sun was strong. And there was this homeless guy standing outside and he was just standing there for like 45 minutes, like throughout like the entire lunch. I could see him, but he was just standing there, not talking to anyone, not doing anything, just standing there. And I remember thinking, like, oh my God, it's so fucking hot out. Like, that's brutal. Like, oh my God, it's just, I felt for him. I really did. So we're walking out, and I made a decision I was going to give him a few bucks. So I pull out a five and I go to hand it to him. This blew my mind. I go to hand him the five and he goes, no, thanks, I'm good. Turn down free money. I,
The man has a code, Don.
I evidently like I turned to my brother and I go, I will never forget that for as long as I live. Like I've never seen a homeless person turn down money. I've very seldom seen non-homeless people turn down money.
I wouldn't turn it down. If you had handed me $5 and you thought I would have taken it, you know.
It blew my mind. I don't know.
You know what
he
I
had a
think
thing.
he probably thought in this, you know what, that as much as there's plenty of guys you look at that are outside the system and you go, what are you doing, man? You just sleep in your own piss. There's some that just kind of looked at the system and went, you know what? I'm good. That's a guy who can say what very few people can, which is, I'm good. I have enough. In that moment, he was probably like, you know what? I'm warm. I'm already fed. Maybe I have some food in my little campsite and I'll ask for more money when I need more money, which very few human beings have ever been able to do.
Yeah,
So,
I was blown away by it. I think I'll always remember that. It threw me for a loop. I've never seen a homeless person turn down money.
you know what? He probably just had a really good fucking mushroom trip. Because whenever I have like a solid hallucinogenic ego trip, I get to that point where I go, oh, I don't need to look at my phone. I don't need this. I keep thinking, oh, I need that. I need. It goes away. And just like, yeah, I'm cool.
All right,
Maybe, you met the second coming of Christ and now there's a place for you in heaven.
maybe just should prove being a nice guy.
What, what made you leave Boston?
Uh,
Because I didn't think you would. I knew you were a back and forth guy with LA, but I didn't picture you leaving. When you told me you left Arizona, I was pretty surprised.
left Boston.
What's up?
You said left Arizona. You mean left Boston?
Yeah. Sorry. That's what I meant. You
Uh,
left Boston.
so I, I say this when people ask me that because people always like kind of know me as like Mr. Boston, and it's like Don Zollo. I mean, he's like he is Boston, and I'm like I can't. My buddies in LA were like, "What? You left Boston?" And I go, "Yeah." They go, "Well, how do you like it so far?" And I go, "Well, there's less traffic." I'm like, the women are better looking. Um, the weather's not. The people are nicer. The weather's nicer. Uh, but On the other hand, I'm like, I'm not hated for my political beliefs and everything's less expensive. So I don't know. Like, I see no downside to this place. My only downside would be I don't have like a life set up here, so to speak. Like, it's not like I have an intricate network of like
Yeah.
hundreds of people. Like, I mean, in Boston, I know, hundreds of people, and whatever I need, I know somebody far, and I have tons of friends. Out here, I'm like, oh, just have to make some friends as you go.
I just don't like that you can't get great pizza and nothing's in walking distance. Other than that, it's great, but it's hot.
When you say nothing's in walking distance, I mean, it depends what you want to go to. Wherever I've been doing various Airbnbs because I wanted to try out different areas of the city, and I'm like, there's always like that little strip mall of Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, grocery stores, restaurant, bars. I mean, every place that I've lived, I'm just like, yeah, I can walk to most of the stuff I need in like 5 or 10 minutes.
Hmm.
It's not like a Boston where there's like literally everything, but I mean, there's enough stuff in walking distance. It's not a pain in the ass.
You still drink? You go out to bars and shit?
Uh, so I really haven't drank all that much since I've been out here. I mean, I don't know. I've probably 5 or 6 nights in 3 or 4 months,
Hmm.
so my answer is yes, but not all that much. Because the other thing too is I never really drink alone. Like it's more of a social thing with me.
Well, that's
So
what I was going to say is Scottsdale has a really good bar scene. Like I remember going out to some of them and I was like, "Oh, you guys are here to have fun." And the women are like hot. And you can talk to them. And it's not like Boston where people go out just to fight. Like you're not your primary objective isn't to put a beer bottle through someone's face.
I
It's to
think
have
that
a good time.
I think I think that element that you're talking about with Boston, I don't think that people go out searching for fights, although that
Oh,
absolutely
I
exists.
I know some. I
I don't doubt that you know some. 100% you know some. But that's a minority of the population. But I am blown away at how many people go out to get hammered in Boston.
yes,
Like,
yes, that.
like it's just like we're gonna throw 15 back and see what happens. Yeah, pretty much the only times I really have drank since I've been out here would be if I've either gone on dates or maybe have drinks at a comedy show or something like that.
How is so? What was the? I know you said you like it nicer, but what did you just throwing dots at a board? You went Arizona, here I come.
So last year I did a comedy show out here for a company, which I find hilarious because, as you know, I'm not exactly a corporate comedian. You know what I mean? I'm not very
Yeah,
politically correct.
I'm
So
far from a corporate comedian myself, so I know what
one
you
of my
mean.
buddies, actually, you know Randy Valerio, right?
Yeah, Randy's a great dude.
Yeah, he when I was in LA last year, he said, "Hey, I got a corporate gig." He's like, "But they want a lot of time." He's like, "I'd rather split the time." He's like, "We want to make the trip out to Arizona with me." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." He goes, "It's going to be a great time." He's like, "I know the owner of the company." He's like, "She's a sweetheart. She's a ton of fun." He's like, "Everybody in the company's real fun." I go, "Okay." I go, "But you're sure I'm okay?"
Randy's not a corporate guy
Yeah.
either.
That's what made me believe that it was okay.
All right,
So I
because
was like, all right, if they're hiring you, like you're far worse than I am, like in
yeah,
terms of
Randy has the most degenerate Instagram I've ever seen. I love it,
yeah,
but it is like
it is
it's
it's the
vile.
yeah. So uh we did the show. It was a blast. Like I had a fun time. Like the show was great and we're drinking with everybody that works at the company. I met the owner of the company. She was a sweetheart, really fun. Um, and it's so like, I took her Instagram and her phone number and we'd shoot the shit here and there. Uh, and then I'd start to look at her Instagram and it turns out she's like the number one real estate agent in all of Arizona. And I would see these listings and I'm like, who is buying these listings? They're like $30 million, $40 million. I'm like, this is bananas to me. And just each house was more beautiful than the next. So as I was getting frustrated with Boston, as a city, and to be honest, as a comedy scene, I was just getting really frustrated with it. I'd done real estate in Boston. I just said, I called her up one day and I sent her a text and I said, if I get my license out in Arizona, do you just snap your fingers and hire me? And she said, yes, if that's what you want, I'll hire you tomorrow. And I go, let's talk. I listened to what she had to say, and I was like, I'll be out next month. Bye. And just came out there and uh, been thrilled with it so far.
You're not even coming home for Christmas, huh?
I don't think so. It's
No,
amazing how much I don't miss it. Like, I miss my friends, but I
but
mean,
not even the holidays someplace.
yeah, but my parents live in Florida, so like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
yeah,
Boca Raton?
Del Boca Vista, I
Del
call it.
Boca Vista.
Everything about my parents down there is so Del Boca Vista. It's beyond belief. It's they live in they have a condo at this like country club, and it's a gated community type deal,
Mhm.
and it is what the Seinfelds lived in Del Boca Vista. Like just everything about the culture and how it's set up. I'm like, this is that.
How's your dad making out with no tomato sauce?
He won.
He
Pastine is officially carried down south now.
really.
I'm pretty sure it was because of the social media campaign that I put forth. For those people listening that don't know of the legend of Don Zollo Sr., I drive my father down to Florida every year, and then in the springtime I drive him back up to Boston because they split the year between Boston and Florida, and my mother would murder my father if they had to spend 3 days in the car with each other. So every year I drive him down and drive him back. And I remember, I don't know, maybe like 7 years ago, I walk into the living room. The other thing is my father, it takes him like 10 days to prep the car for all the stuff that he's going to bring down. Like it's insane. Like no normal person brings this. But I remember like 7 years ago, I walk in and there was 48 jars or cans of pastine tomato paste in the living room set up in like this pyramid. And I walk in and I'm like, what is this? Like, well, why do you have this? And he goes, I'm taking it with me down to Florida. And I go, why are you taking tomato paste down to Florida? He said, because I want to make gravy. I go, well, why not just buy it down there? And he's like, because I like pastine. They don't sell it down. They don't sell it in the South. And I'm like, you're taking 48 jars of pastine with you. And he's like, yeah. He's like, that's how much I anticipate I'm going to need to get through the winter months. So I took a picture of it and I really didn't think anything of it. I just was making fun of my father. I took a picture and I'm like, look what this fucking nutcase is bringing down to Florida. And I was blown away at the response. It was like 300 people commented on it. And some of them were like, yeah, he's a nut. Then other people were like, dude, that's the best tomato sauce in the market. You're a fool if you don't bring it down. But it just created this thing. So then every year I would just take a picture of me and my father with some pastine, and people really attached to it. So
You could have started like a black market thing, man.
it's just bringing it down. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, selling it to old people in Del Boca Vista
Yeah. But I was blown. But I'm convinced that they started expanding into the southern markets because of my father.
because of you.
Yeah,
The you haven't been getting the homesicks.
nothing, zero. Like
When I go down to South America, I get it for certain. Like I miss my family, and then I get it for certain American things. There's something about an American diner that is just being able to walk in there and get an omelet whenever you want, and to sit down, and that old, grungy waitress comes over with the apron and this, how you doing, honey? Hey, sweetheart, and fills you up with coffee over and over again. I'm like that. That's my thing that I miss the most when I'm gone. I don't think
I
we.
enjoy that, but I also don't go to that enough that it bothers me. Like, I mean, I probably have diner breakfast 5 or 6 times a year. Like, so it's not moving the needle for me.
I
Plus,
don't
I'm
go
in.
often either, but it's something about it that makes me feel it's my fucking safe space, dude. My safe space is a diner with a cranky old lady serving me coffee.
So I think this is funny. Just that very seldom we'll get a chance to tell this joke. Years ago, like I'm talking before I ever got in comedy, I was in college, and I remember I heard this joke. And I just thought it was so fucking funny. It just hit me. You know when a joke just hits you perfectly? Like this joke
Mhm.
hit me right. And it was basically like I listened to this comedian, like I said, late 90s. He goes, I love going to diners. He's like, because you get to hear diner talk. They always got a cool way of saying something, you know, like they'd be like, "Hey, I want a hot dog with ketchup." And the lady will just turn around and she'd be like, "Bow wow, paint it red." And he's like, "I love that." He goes, "I want to work at a diner so that I can have my own diner talk." And he's like, "I just want somebody to be like, yeah, could I get some scrambled, could I get a couple scrambled eggs and some bacon, sausage, and a cup of coffee, please?" And I just want to be able to turn back and go, "Crack them, fuck a pig twice, take off my shirt, shave my back, and give the monkey $1." And I lost it. Like I thought that joke was so funny. Like I couldn't stop laughing at it, and I always remembered it. And it just, I don't know, like it just went away in my brain, like just stored there. And I don't know, about a year ago, I was listening. You know how you go down the YouTube wormhole, you listen to one thing and it takes you to this and this.
Mhm.
I was listening to Louis C.K. one day, and it just 4 or 5 clicks in to start playing a joke, and it was Louis C.K.
Oh,
And
it
I
was
go,
his joke.
"Yeah, it was his joke from like 1995 or something."
Oh, old school Louis.
Yeah. So I just thought it was funny. I'm like, "Oh fuck, I love this joke for like 25 years," and it turns out it was, Louis C.K.'s.
How do you like doing comedy out there?
I love it. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. Uh, I've had good luck getting into the bigger clubs. I'm I got recommended by Pete Lee at like the 3 biggest clubs out here, and it was such a cool way it shook out. I loved it. Um, I saw him out one night, and he was doing a show, and I sent him a message. He had no reason to believe that I'd be in Arizona, so I go, "Dude, I'm in the audience," and he's like, "Oh, get the fuck out." He's like, "Let's meet up after the show." And he just said to me, he's like, he goes, "You trying to get in here?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "I'll put in a word for you." And I watched him. Like the owner happened to be in the same bar as us, and he walked over. I could tell they had good rapport. And then the owner came over to me and was like, "You're passed." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You're passed. You're in." He's like, "I got your emails. I've been reading them." He goes, "I saw your videos." He's like, "Between that," he goes, "Pete just vouched for you." He's like, "You're in." And I was like, "Oh my
Mm.
God, like Pete, you just saved me a year of my life." So I've had good luck with that. Smaller clubs, it's been a little bit tougher, which I find shocking. But they're reasonable crowds.
How would you say is a caliber of comedy compared to back home? And I know
Boston,
we have a
I'm not
very
sure.
tall order.
We got a tall order. Like, I mean, Boston's got a lot of shit, but it's got a lot of amazing comedians.
It's got the
Like,
best.
like it's, uh, you know about the documentary that you know about the documentary I'm working on?
Yeah, you told me about it.
Yeah. I don't care if I talk about it on this or not, but it's just been slow going. But I've been working on a documentary about how the culture of Boston impacted comedy. And when you look back at the fucking people that came out of Boston, especially in the late 80s, early 90s, it's bananas how good they are. And it's kind of just like, what's in the water? Like, why was Boston able to pump out so many amazing comedians, especially from that era? Like, because that late 80s, early 90s classic comedians is like the greatest collection, the greatest class to come out like ever. And it's like you can say, "Oh, New York's got tons of great comedians." Well, New York's got 8 million people.
Mm.
Boston has like 500,000.
They also don't. Their per capita isn't the same as ours of
Yeah,
quality comics.
that's what I'm saying. Like, uh, I mean, Boston's probably closer now at this point, closer to probably 700,000 than 500,000, but still. But I'm like, what? So I thought about it. I was like, what is it? I'm like, well, Boston's a very masculine city, and I do think there's funny women before I take 9 million fucking comments about being.
Don, I regularly trash women on this show, so
I
go
trash.
ahead. I talk about how they're not funny all the time. If they're listening, they've been through me, and I'm a lot. So go.
It's like I do think stand-up comedy is like a masculine art form, and I'm like,
Yeah, it
Boston's
is.
filled
It's
with
not. It's
fucking
not a
men.
feminine
No two
thing.
ways about it. Like, or at least historically, it's been filled with men. And I'm like, it's always filled with like rebellious guys, whether they're throwing the tea in the ocean or fucking, standing up to authority today. And then I'm like, what else? And like, people just bust balls here all the time. So you're just constantly in this environment growing up of being made fun of and making fun of people. And I'm like, it's just a generation of risk takers. And everyone here's got this, tribal mindset of like, this is where the Irish people are, and this is where the Italian people are, and this is where the black people live. It's a very tribal place historically. It's kind of getting gentrified now, but Like,
I think it's past that, but I honestly, to add what you're saying, I think it goes back even farther to we have good writers. So if you look at New England historically, we have Robert Frost, we have Henry David Thoreau, we have Ralph Waldo Emerson.
how,
New England churns out amazing authors. Edgar Allan Poe was stationed in Boston,
wasn't he in
and
Southie? Like at
yeah, it was at
Castle
Castle
Island?
Island. Yeah,
Castle Island, it's fucking crazy to me. Um, I never thought about that aspect of it. That's interesting. When I was going with the tribal thing, I always think it's funny. Everybody here is so fucking tribal to their own little area until the outside threat comes, and then all of a sudden, all the parties get together and they're like, "Go fuck yourself," you know.
yeah.
But I think about like the place being Boston, how divided it is. That you have the smartest people in the world right next to the biggest fucking meatheads. You know what I mean? It's like it's an interesting.
Our dumb people are pretty smart though. Like if you like, I'm not, dude. In all seriousness, like I work in a labor union. I've had some very deep conversations and intellectual conversations with coworkers and people that I grew up with in the city, in the inner city, that I could never have with people from other states on a job site similar to that. I don't
That's
know
funny.
what it is, but there are dumb people have a higher level of dumb than than, than other
Most
places. I've seen that before. Like in Amsterdam, they're homeless all speak perfect English with no accent. I'm like, even your dumb people here are pretty cultured. You know,
wow.
even the homeless will come up to me and ask for money in perfect English. So it's amazing. Two languages and you still can't get a fucking job. God damn, dude, it's hot out there.
Um, yeah, I never thought about that. There's a lot of great writers. Maybe that's an insight I'll take a look at. I never
Well,
thought about
even
that.
comedy writers, who's the Conan O'Brien and dude from who wrote Family Guy, Seth MacFarlane. He's from Eastern Connecticut.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
Boston. Eastern
I
Connecticut, totally different. It's not Boston.
H.P. Lovecraft from Rhode Island. I throw him in there because he's
H.P. Lovecraft.
yeah, my favorite, one of the best horror authors ever. He inspired Stephen King, another New England horror author.
He
Stephen
was
just,
We're
uh,
wicked smart.
yeah, amazing. Like I'm telling you, we have this something. I don't know what it is. I think people just, I don't know what it's a cultural thing deep in there where guys want to sit back. It's cold. It's wintry out. What are you going to do? I guess I'm going to sit in this fucking shed and I'm just going to read, you
Drink
know?
right. Um, I never thought about the writing aspect of it. That's interesting. Hmm.
Uh, I'm curious. Were you afraid to start over somewhere
No,
new?
I was
Really?
looking forward to it. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't know how I say it. Like, it's not like I have all the answers and everything's sorted out here, but I'm like,
Yeah,
I
but a lot
would,
of people, even after like we're older dudes. Like I'm 37, you're in your 40s, right?
yeah.
A lot of people past a certain age, and that certain age is like even early 30s, maybe even before, are just like, yeah, wherever I'm at in life, it's where I'm at.
Well, I also think that, like I said, I was just so fed up with Boston. I was just like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. It also doesn't hurt that I feel I'm probably hated by 30% of the Boston comedy community. I think 30% is fair. Like, I'm like, I walk into a room, I'm like, I can feel it. That person doesn't care for me. They don't like me. Fuck them. Whatever. Who
Well,
cares?
It's, I don't think I'm hated. I think there's people who are ambivalent to me. There's some that don't like me, but I'm pretty like I have an attitude of there's certain people where I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to fucking talk to you.
I just
And
noticed. Oh, sorry, go on.
no, I do. It's what are you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, it's just the comedy culture in Boston is just nowhere near as enjoyable to me as it was when I started. And you can also say maybe that's a function of me being younger, but I'm like, I look back at starting out at the Vault, and my God, that place was so fucking fun. It was bananas. Like
Yeah, it was fun.
it,
It
it
was
was
really. It
such a
made me want to be a comedian.
yeah. it was such a clubhouse atmosphere and ball busting, and like everybody like liked each other. Like there was no, I honestly can't think of one thing of drama that happened at the vault. And I was there like every night for about 5 years.
Well,
It was
Boston,
just, it was just fun. Like you'd go downstairs and you perform, and you know, it was what it was. Sometimes it sucked, sometimes it was awesome. It was a great place to grow. I think the vault is my favorite tryout room I've ever done in comedy. Just a
yeah, for
fantastic
me it was.
to try
I
out. And then you go upstairs and maybe you drink, maybe you don't, but you sit at that table and you watch sports and you make fun of one another. And it was fucking amazing. Uh, I just, I'm like, I don't see that anymore.
No, it's because it doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
I've realized what comedy's changed, it just has. Whether I might not like it, but um, the world's changing. Yeah, a lot of stuff's changing, and I can navigate through. There's some stuff that I'm going to fight tooth and nail because you have to. Because I believe some stuff is wrong, and if something's happening in the world that's wrong, and I think it's dark and evil, and it's bad for me, and it's bad for people I love, and it's bad for mankind, I'm going to fight it. But with comedy, it's just like I look at it like a buffet now, where I just go, all right, I'm in and out. I take what I want, and I'm well past that point of like involvement in drama where I can't. I don't care what anyone
Well,
fucking
I
says.
don't even really have drama with anybody. I'm just like, I know that I'm not well received by like a
Well,
lot of the,
not even that, but I mean, so you on Facebook?
yeah.
I didn't realize that I'm still in one of the Boston comedian Facebook groups, and a bunch. There was a nice Me Too movement all of a sudden, and just seeing
Recently,
it, yeah, oh yeah, huge.
I'm going to leave the person's name out.
I'm not going to say anyone's names out of
I know I'm going
respect.
to leave the person that called me. I know what I already know what you're talking about. But
I'm talking. There's two incidents.
somebody called me like about a week ago and was like, "Are you part of that Boston Comedians page?" And I just started shaking my head because I think it's called Boston Comedians 2. And I think it's called that because the first one was so fucking toxic and so fucking poisonous that they were like, "We got to just shut this fucking page down." So they shut it down. They're like, "Let's start new." And that one is, from what I hear, not as bad as the first one. I am on that page. Technically, I'm a member. I've never like posted anything. I probably like replied to a comment like once in 7 years or something. But I get a call last week and they go, "Yeah, so you remember this Boston Comedians page?" And I go, "Oh my God, what's going wrong now?" And they started to bring up what you're bringing up. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm glad that I participate in this bullshit. It's just like
It's
enough.
fun to watch, but you just don't like. My fear of it is, it's like, oh, I'm just watching people that don't matter to me get mad over something that I don't think matters. So just for this, a club owner and booker was caught watching pornography in the back of his club while stand up was happening, which is fucking hilarious. If like even the owner is just like, I want to watch this chick get fucking DP'd. I don't get time for your fucking banana jokes. You keep that on stage. And the people were, and I get that it's weird. It's not fucking normal. Okay. It's weird. You're running a workplace. Don't watch porn on your
I don't think
laptop.
it's appropriate, but I also don't think it's the end of the world.
I don't think that people need to write out how he has to like thank. It was you would have thought the guy was raping bitches by the way people were acting.
That's what I've heard. Like, it's just the reaction is just so powerful. The other thing too is like, from what I've heard, this has been hashed out like 7 times.
Yeah.
Like,
It's just
like, just let it. Like, like, what new thing is gonna? You're like, yeah, I don't know.
because people want to be a judge and jury. They want to somebody who's insecure with who they are and is desperately, and this is part of a lot of our current politics. Somebody who doesn't know who they are is trying to assert who they are. And one of the ways they're doing that is through morality. Well, I don't know who I am. Well, I certainly want to be a good person. I want to be the best person. So whenever there's a chance to hop on somebody and find a sacrificial goat, you do that and you go, well, I'm the purest, I'm the best, I'm a good person. Hey, I'm a good person too. Jump on, pile on like a pack of piranhas. And then you're like, dude, it wasn't a thing. You don't know who you are, you don't know life.
Yeah,
You're pulling.
maybe part of it is that a lot of the, I don't know, maybe it's that they're younger, like, so yeah, that might play into it, like that they're searching for who they are or whatever you want to call it. I don't
Well,
know.
they're just fucking soft. There's that too. They're just as much of it comes from youth. It just comes from people. You know, I'm not even to be a dick, but a lot of it just comes from broken homes and people not getting love, and we all deal with that trauma one way. But you know, at least when I was younger, you did drugs and you drank and you fucked loose women. You didn't, you know, join a fucking torch movement on social media. You know,
You
like
didn't,
that.
you didn't bring light to microaggressions. You just went out and
Nah.
you did 50 beers and buried your sorrows in a pile of pussy and you moved on.
Yeah, you know, like a fucking normal person, like human beings did for all of human history. Okay.
Oh man.
So,
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. I don't fucking miss it. Um, it's not like I'm like, oh, I'll never come back or anything, but I'm just like, I don't know. I'm quite content out here right now. I really am. I'm like, it's just, and the other thing too is like, this isn't even a red state. It's like a purple state. And I'm like, oh my God, it is just so much easier to make purple state people laugh rather than blue state. You know
yeah,
what I
because
mean?
you're gonna mix everybody. You can,
Well, they're out to have a good time instead of out
yes.
to, you know?
Well, it's not like I said. It's not a Boston feels like a political inquisition, and you can never be pure enough for the party. You can never be enlightened enough for the church. Whatever authority you're going towards, it's never good enough. You need to be more, and so you
Yeah.
eat more and more of your people. But it's not. It's not designed to stay at an equilibrium. It's designed to consume until again everyone gets brought up in it.
But you know what? To go to a broader thing, this isn't just Boston. Can't everyone acknowledge the world is way worse than it was 10 years ago? With and it's just gotten more politically correct and more identity politics and more like, isn't that enough to just be like, hey, no more of this bullshit? Like, who is it is so few and far between that you'd find people that are happier now than 10 years ago.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
You never used to do this. Like you only had to do this before you had three or more people. They must have just updated it, and I used to be able to have 3 hour long fucking conversations on here without this problem. I'm just gonna have to find new software or upgrade it.
It sounds like you're explaining evidence. This never happens, trust me.
No, dude, it's what it feels like. I hate it. But to answer your question, because you asked a really good question or made a really good statement, I don't know anyone who's happier with the way things are now than before, regardless of politics, which really blows me away because everyone I know is like, it sucks, regardless whether they're
Right.
centrist, leftist, right wing, far right, far left, anywhere.
Everybody.
Everyone just goes, hey, we're all just dealing with nonstop depression and anxiety. And all I see all day on social media is hardcore nostalgia porn. Just like, hey, remember the 90s? Remember when life, like, you didn't like things made sense when
Yeah.
you weren't at war with every single different type of person for every belief?
Um, Nostalgia porn. I've never heard that before. That's a great way to put it. But I always say like, well, we just need to come together. I'm like, over what? Literally everything is divisive. Like it's fucking insane. But that would be the one thing that I think everybody would agree with is everything was better 10 years ago.
Yeah, by and large. Well, except for the only people who wouldn't are like super weird gendered people, but even they aren't fucking happy. So
Not happy.
no one's happy with what's going on. But you know, when you start throwing out, hey, here's a solution to fix what sucks, everyone's like, oh, you know.
Um, my solution, and by no means am I the I don't know, the image bearer of perfection on this. I'm far from it, but I'm like, I really believe that all of these problems are because we've turned our back on God as a culture. Like it's it kind of is bananas to me how quickly the world has fallen apart in the last I don't know, 15 years. And you can say a lot of that started with, like, I don't know, the Catholic Church scandal turned a lot of people off, which I understand. But when you turn your back on God as a country, it's like, look at what we've devolved into. And it's like, there's always going to be something that needs to fill that place. And a lot of people put, like, I've heard the term uh, racial idolatry, like the race above everything. And they just like raise at the worship at the altar of race. And I'm like, that's insane. And then you can do it with your sexuality and like, oh, my sexuality is the most important. And like, I'm like, no, like, I think it's that we've turned our backs on God. And it's like, people will make fun of me for that. And I'm not the most well-versed guy to get my point across with it, but I'm just like, I honestly think that, like, if we were just a lot more in effort to be in communication with God, just things would be better. And I can't verbalize it. Certainly, I think people would live their life in a way that wouldn't cause as many problems. But I don't know. I think that there's a lot of, you take God out of the schools and you replace it with different ideologies, and it's like, no, it causes a lot of issues.
I think there's a lot of truth to that, and I think it's something I've said before on here. I think people need a metaphysical and a spiritual outlet. You have a pineal gland, you have a part of you that's supposed to connect to something out there in the ether. Now, whether that's God or multiple gods, whether it's Christian or fucking Hindu or even paganists, as long as you're connecting to something, as long as you have some sort of ethereal thing that helps give you a, hey, what is, and it doesn't have to, you can have a moral compass without it, but it helps give you a sense of morality for you as to what, hey, what's my, because like, the more I found like a sense of faith in life, there was a more of a, oh, I'm hurting me sometimes when I do stuff. And oh, am I the sort of, I naturally kind of would have this thing where sometimes I do stuff and I go, oh, I don't still do this. Am I still doing this? And then, I'd actually think like, oh, what would, what would people who know me think if, that I'm just sitting here fucking wanking it, on a random afternoon to filth on my phone. I'm like, I feel awful. Like, I'm not saying don't not spank your meat. I'm just saying don't watch a lot of gross porn.
What I mean by that is, like, the morality for the world, if you will, like, doesn't matter if you jerk off. Like, is the world going to fall apart if you jerk off? No. But, like, I don't know. Maybe there's something to that. Like, mentally or emotionally or spiritually, whatever, maybe you've weakened yourself, 0.1%. I don't know what the number is, but it's like you keep doing that, and it's like all of a sudden you just don't feel as strong a person anymore.
Yes.
And then you make bad decisions in the world. I kind of get what you're saying with that.
I also think that if people don't have that other spirit, like realm of whatever you want to call it, then they only have this. Then they only have the physical world. And then every single thing in the physical world becomes a life or death struggle over who can and can't compete in what sport, or who can't. These things, when you don't have something that's beyond, you focus on every little thing, and your physical identity becomes your only fucking identity. What color you are, what gender you are becomes all you have, because you can't touch into something more divine and deeper. And
I think that's a great way to put it.
You feel empty. I grew up an atheist, man. I was an atheist for almost my entire life. It's fucking, it's a lonely, narcissistic way of going through life.
That's the other thing too, is like, you just said narcissist, and it's like, I have two takes on this. We all see the people complaining about that other person that's such a narcissist. Oh my God, I dated my ex is such a narcissist. And I'm like, are they all narcissists? Like, but then I also look at it and say, we live in a narcissistic culture. So maybe there's a sliver of truth in that. I don't know. But I'm like, I look at our culture and I'm like, God, it is a narcissistic culture. Like, it is kind of gross. Like, I don't like posting a lot on social media. And you can say, well, I see you post all the time. I post jokes all the time.
I've
I
seen
might,
you have a lot of fights on Facebook, Don.
I'm not opposed to to an old fashioned Facebook fight.
To a nice 300 comment debate.
Right. Um, but so like, I don't mean it like that, but like oh, look at me, I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, it just kind of grosses me out to do that. I do make tons of posts. I don't want to make it sound like I don't post, but I'm like,
I know exactly what you're trying to say, which
yeah,
is like you want to have
you know
fun
how
with it
awesome I post. I'm like, I'm okay. Yes.
without
God.
being totally self-absorbed.
Yeah.
Which, but it, our ups and downs as Americans is that our hyper individualism allowed us to really get a bunch of free thinkers who came up with and invented and created really good things. But everything's a give and take and a balance. And the downside is that we part of that is hyper individualism is I care about me and only me. And if my hat, if me cutting across 4 lanes of traffic fucks everybody, or me deciding I'm going to park in a fucking off ramp fucks you all, tough shit. You know, all that matters is me. It's not, you got to have a good medium of, hey, I got to do right for me, but I got to do right for my community. You
Right.
know, and I think that's part of what you said is when you do have faiths, religion, spirituality, whatever you want to group it as, a lot of times you end up doing it as a group, even if you don't intend to. It becomes something you do with other people because I people are going to want to gravitate towards it. If people see you doing something, it brings you hope and happiness, and in a world that's dark, they're going to be like, yeah, I want a piece of that. Give me a piece of that fucking God pie, whatever. What do you got over there that makes you smile? And when the world is crashing down, you hold your head up high. Yeah, come over here. We'll fucking, before you know it, you go to church. That's how it works.
Generally speaking, religious people are happier than non-religious people,
Mhm.
generally speaking. Um, so that yeah, I definitely think there's something to that. What did I just want to add to that? Fuck, I can't think of it.
Individualism, faith,
Oh,
spirituality, um, morals.
oh. So again, I'm not the person to give the most eloquent explanation on this, but supposedly like the Declaration of Independence and like Constitution, they're rooted in like the values of like Judeo-Christian values. And they're like, there is a separation of church and state in this country, but they're like, in order for this country to run as well as it can, it should be run through like a lens of Christianity and you know uh, Jewish, like the Jewish religion. And like I heard that's like how they put the documents together. And I'm like, you have to admit, first 250 years of this country, it was on fucking cruise control. I mean, it was pretty smooth sailing. And then it's like right around the time that like everybody started turning their back on God, it's like that's when everything's kind of turned to shit. Now, I'm sure there's a more eloquent way to say that than what I just did, but I'm like, I don't know, maybe there's something to that. Like the country that's running through these principles runs very well and it goes in line with the documents that set up this country.
Yeah, yeah. There's some truth to that. Although there's its own hypocrisy in there. You know, you can't. Some one of the tough things is finding your own relationship with what's right and wrong and with God. Because some guys will be like, "Hey, I own this guy. He's my slave, and the Bible says I can." But most people like, yeah, does it really? You know, if you like, can we like, and I think that can turn a lot of people off. Um, but we definitely it's more of a hey, we're all on the same wavelength, you know. Um, but how do you have a culture when everyone's on a different wavelength?
It's you can't.
You can't.
Uh, I mean, I always laugh at the diversity is our strength thing, and I'm like, I don't have inherently a problem with diversity, but like, it's not like it's not our strength. Like, what evidence is the point that it's our strength?
Well, it's not because it actually means to divide. That prefix means
Yeah,
it's to divest. It's division. It's divide. It is that means to separate.
I,
And
I honestly
it's
think
kind of
that
the
that
opposite of
slogan is put
union.
in by like an anti-American like shot at taking this country down, if that makes any sense. Like that is a purposeful slogan to like indoctrinate morons. You know what I mean?
Well,
Oh, they said it's
I if you get a chance, read Edward Bernays' book Propaganda, and it'll make you real. He's the guy who invented propaganda because it didn't exist before the First World War, and he perfected it in the early 1920s. And you realize that it's kind of crazy to think that throughout human history, like there was no mass propaganda because we didn't have the means for it. We didn't have
right.
radio or TV or social media, and now it's there are people whose job it is, and once you see it, once you like put on the glasses, I can't watch TV anymore because I know when it happens. I know the second it's like you're eating food and you get to taste something, you're like, what is this, fucking onions? You putting propaganda onions in my spaghetti? I don't want that in there. And and you just I just pull away. I just
I
immediately
can't believe that like regular TV is still on. I'm like, maybe old people watch it, but I'm like,
yeah,
who
old people and two people who watch sports in the news. And like a lot of people need it on in the background. Like I've been over people's houses where the news is just on and they're only kind of paying attention. And then they'll be like, can you believe what they're talking about here? And I'm like, yeah, that's why I turn it off. Like, you can turn it off. You don't have to. You don't have to watch it, dude.
I hate our media with like the burning passion of 10,000 suns. It's just
Well,
fucking awful.
I wanted to transition into this, but so you're doing what's the thing, the hard 75. So
75 hot.
because you're a guy who I've often seen you doing a lot of I don't know what I would call these, motivational fitness runs, not necessarily a run, but like, hey, I'm gonna do a certain amount of physical stuff, which all adds to your physical and mental health. Spirit, all of it, excuse me, is one health. And I'm curious as to how this new thing's working out for you and how this stuff helps you. And clearly, I feel a similar way to you about a lot of things where when I come back from like the jungle and I reintegrate into society, there's this moment where I feel like I'm in a movie and it's like in the Odyssey when you go to the island of the poppy sniffers or eaters, whatever it is, where you go, hey, everything seems okay on the surface, but there's something weird going on. There's a trick here. Something's not right. I feel out of whack, like I'm in a weird town in the Twilight Zone. And that's how I feel with what happens to all of us: depression, anger, anxiety. What do you use? Because I know you watch motivational stuff. We both watch Tony Robbins. What helps you deal with this shit when it comes up inside of you, where you're like, hey, fucking play, the world's fucked up. What physical things, what motivational stuff, how does this factor?
So, I mean, one thing is, I think that your body is so important. Like your body controls your mind, and I feel like your mind controls your body. Like, uh, I just feel better about myself when I'm in shape. Like I
Mhm.
just do, and that alone, never mind whatever physiological processes get better when I'm in better shape, but just feeling good and looking good. I'm like, oh, I feel a lot more at peace with the world. And I'm sure there's like an endorphin thing that goes with it. But when I do 75 hard, and I'll just go through the bullet points real quick for people that don't know it, it's a 75-day program. If you screw anything up, you got to go back to day one. And every day you've got to work out twice a day, 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside. It does not matter what the weather is. Oh, it's raining, get out there. It's 110 degrees out, get out there. There's 2 feet of snow, get out. It doesn't matter. So you got to work out twice a day, 45 minutes. One of them has to be outside. That kind of just teaches you that no matter what life throws at you, you just got to go fucking do it. You just have to do it. And then you got to drink a gallon of water every day. You've got to take a progress picture every day, which is very easy to do, but it's also very easy not to do. It's very easy to forget. So it teaches you to just be diligent. Then you got to read 10 pages of a self-improvement book every day. And then you have to follow a nutrition plan with no cheat meals. And each time you do one of these little things, one of those box checking things, have a healthy meal, work out, twice, drink the water, the picture, all that, read, you're just fulfilling a self promise. And each time you fulfill a self promise, it just gives you a little piece of confidence, just a tiny little block. But at the end of 75 days, if you've done everything that you're supposed to, there's like over 800 little blocks of confidence that you've just built on one on top of the other, on top of the next, on top of the next. And at the end of 75 days, 800 little steps of confidence is like a mind blowing amount of confidence to pick up. And then on top of it, you just look better. So, like the first time I did it, I lost 29 pounds. And like the last, I don't know, 2 weeks, I mean, I probably lost like a pound or two. I just didn't have anything else left to lose. I was just like, so you can get into fantastic shape, but that just sprinkles on top the confidence that you're already working with, which is an amazing thing. But the other thing is when you're working out, you're pushing yourself. So like I hurt my back about 2 years ago. And when I say hurt my back, I mean, it was pretty serious. Like I wasn't going to be paralyzed or anything of that nature, but doing anything really athletic was out of the question. Like I couldn't run. I could run for like 15 minutes, but then I couldn't walk for like 4 or 5 days if I did that. And as a result, it turned like a lot of my workouts into just I'll put on a weighted vest and I'll go for a walk. This past year, like the last 4 or 5 months, my back has improved greatly. I started doing yoga. And so now I'm like, all right, I can run again. And which is awesome. But here's the thing, I actually think walking is better for fat loss. So what I do is I've just started getting into running again for the mental toughness portion of it, because there is such a value in making yourself mentally stronger. And like I'm nowhere near where I was 2 years ago. Like 2 years ago, I was like getting ready for an Ironman half triathlon. And I know that I'm nowhere near doing that right now. But I'm like, I see the progress. I'm like, okay, I'm up to like, 25 minutes of running a day now if I want. And that just builds, like, when I get done with it, I'm happy with myself. And it burns some calories too. But like, I just feel like your body controls so much of your mind, it's beyond belief. And that's why, like, you look at all these miserable fucks that are crying about everything, 90% of them are in fucking awful shape.
Yeah, there's a good book called the Mind Body Connection. I think there's another one on that shows that your gut health is intrinsic to your mental health. So if you fucking eat poison, if you eat bullshit, it affects your mental health. All of them. Part of growing up is realizing that everything is everything, that everything is interconnected, that you don't get to fuck up your spirit without fucking up your physical body and your mind, and vice versa. All right. It's hard to be right in mentally and spiritually if you're a fat fuck. I know I've been a fat fuck. Dude, 3 weeks ago, I'm sitting there with my now wife, and I'm sitting down. I go, I'm fucking gross. Dude, I'm not like, I'm not a amorphous blob yet, but I got over 200 pounds again. It's been a while. I was a fat kid growing up. I have issues with being fat, and I felt myself just busting out of my clothes. And I was like, I don't fucking like me. This is nasty. I finally had to do something about it. I knew it was affecting me.
I had a little bit of the same moment. I mean, my scale number didn't creep up to 200, but I gained, I still don't know how this happened. Like, I was looking back when I moved out here, I actually took a picture of the scale, like the first day I was here. And there was a point, a little over a month, where I'm like, I don't know, I went out drinking, a few nights. I wasn't crazy binge drinking and, a little bit of junk food, but nothing crazy. And I looked at the scale recently and I was like, holy shit, 13 pounds. 13 pounds I had gained. And I was like, I still look back and I'm like, I don't know how I gained that. I have no fucking clue. But as soon as I was like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit out of shape. And I looked at the scale, I was like, fuck this. This stops today. And I was like, all right, I'm jumping in on 75 hard. That's one thing that I do love about the program is it gives me the confidence that if I ever do let myself slide and get out of shape, I'm like, just do 75 hard. Once you do 75 hard, you have no choice but to get in shape. If you complete the program, you will be in shape. So I'm like, it gives me that little bit of confidence that if I do backslide, I know that I'm no more than 75 days away from being in like, arguably the greatest shape of my life.
Who's the guy you're reading? You have to read a motivational book, speaker, right?
Yeah. So what am I reading right now? I'm reading a book called Wild at Heart by a guy named John Eldridge.
That's
What are you laughing at?
it'd just be a great name for a porno, man. Like an
Uh,
old 70s porno, wild and hard. I
the
just
first,
picture a guy going across the country, just,
it's the
on a
first,
motorcycle smashing.
first thing from a porno. It's basically a book about masculinity through
Yeah.
a religious lens. Because
Huh.
I just think that's such a problem in our world is that we have bitchified our men at an alarming pace. It is fucking bananas. I'm like, and I don't want to contribute to that problem. So I like to read books like that.
Mm.
Uh,
You read David Goggins?
I read, well, I actually with Goggins, I listened to his book. I didn't do his book for 75 Hard, but I listened to his book because it was pretty cool. What he did is he wrote the book and they did an audio book. But at the end of each chapter, they actually have David come on and talk with a friend about the chapter.
Oh
So it's
yeah.
like a podcast and a book. It's pretty cool.
I'll have to check that out. My go-to guy when I really need somebody to bring me up from the slumps, Les Brown.
I love
That's
Les
my
Brown. I haven't
dude.
seen him in a while.
Les,
Uh,
I just listen to old speeches, man. Like his speech on giving. It is a 10-minute section that when I listen to it, Don, I want to cry. Makes me feel,
on giving,
yeah.
send me the link because I've listened to a
Dude,
lot of Les Brown. That one isn't coming to my head instantly.
I think it's the most powerful
Miss Mammy Brown's son.
verbiage I've ever heard. Dude, it's like it's now I'll send it to you. Whenever I'm down in the dumps and I'm like, oh, fucking world. I listen to that and I go, oh, you know what? Humanity, we got something in us. We
So
ain't out yet.
I got three things to say. One, he is a fucking fabulous speaker. You listen to him, it's easy to get moved. He
Yeah.
can speak. Um, Two, I have one problem with him from the standpoint of he's such an amazing speaker and gives you so many insights, but I hate seeing that he's fat because I'm like a guy
It
that's
fits him
truly,
though. Come on.
I truly think that if you're
He's
in control of your emotions, you're not fat. And he's got fat on him.
he's not fat. He's big boned. Okay. He's a big boned Southern boy, Southern man. He likes his biscuits.
Yeah, well, you
He's
know what?
eating.
Fucking he liking your biscuits is no excuse, you know. Patrice O'Neill liked his biscuits, and it ultimately led to his demise. It, I think that being overweight shows that there's a lack of self-control in you. But anyways, the third thing, and this is kind of funny.
It's fucking blasphemy, Don.
This is almost 10 years ago. Uh, I had really got like into Les Brown, like super into him. So I'm listening to all this stuff. And this guy's amazing. So I went to his website. I just wanted to see if he was speaking in person. I was like, I'd go see him. So I called up the number and I left a message. And I go, hey, yeah, my name's Don Zollo. I live in Boston, and I was looking to see what Les's schedule's like. I'd like to go to one of his talks. That's it. Here's my phone number. And then the next day, I'm watching YouTube. I'm watching Les Brown, and the phone rings, and it's fucking Les Brown. He called me back
You got to talk with
himself,
Les Brown.
and I'm like, he's like, this Don Zollo, and I'm like, yeah. He's like, this is Les Brown. I'm like, get the fuck out of here! It's Les Brown. He's like laughing. He's like, well, what's that? I'm like, you're calling me back? And he's like, yes. And he called me back. We were on the phone for like, I don't know, 3 minutes. But
And you're still gonna give him shit for being a little chunky, just
yes.
a little
Hey,
fucking spare tire.
I wouldn't be treating him as I treat everybody else, and I would give
Some of
anybody
us are meaty men, Don. Okay, even when do you remember? Do you remember when you and I were in that weight loss competition
Yeah.
and I won? I still had fucking little man boobs. They wouldn't leave me.
You
They
were in
didn't
far
leave.
better shape than what Les Brown was in when you won that contest. That was impressive. I couldn't believe I didn't win that. Not only did I not win that, I was tied for like third, I think. I lost, I think, 30 pounds, 25, something like that. You lost like 36. Like it really wasn't that close.
Yeah, I needed the money to move to New York for comedy. So I my motivation was next level. I was dedicated beyond anything. And
Yeah, dude, I was shocked when I didn't win, and I saw you. I was like, "Fuck, he's gonna win." We
yeah,
took a
I
great.
mean, what's
Do you remember?
that?
We took a great picture. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I have it. I think
You're
I
holding
gotta
up like
find it.
1,200 or $1,500,
Oh, and you will flip me off. That's
and I'm
right.
flipping you off, and whoever else was in second or third place is flipping you off as well.
I remember. I had a good looked like I just strolled out of Auschwitz. I was or I was an extra in Philadelphia. I was one of Tom Hanks' fucking lovers. I was skin and bones, other than my little fucking dude, I don't know. There is a certain amount of genetics, but I understand what you're saying. I have issues. I can give people a certain amount of leeway, but like you ever like so we're a fat fucking country, man. We're fat. And I
Mhm.
know like it's hard because our food is processed. My wife, when she came here, she was flipping out because she's like, I spent 3 months losing my belly. In 1 week of eating American food, it came back. Like our
That's
food is really intensely processed. And I don't think we know this. So like when I come back to the US, I'm like, dude, people are fucking fat. And I don't mean like chunky. I mean like out
yeah.
like in a rascal scooter, just like rolls
But think
hanging
about that.
over.
When we were growing up, did you ever see a rascal scooter? One, they didn't exist, but two, there wasn't a
Nah.
need for them.
No, I always wonder because I know times can get tough. I've been down in the dumps psychologically, but I just don't know how you get to the point where like you ever in a stall and someone comes in the stall next to you or in a urinal and he's just you
Yeah,
can just it's like listening to a fucking asthmatic wildebeest. Just and I go, what? How did this? Isn't there a meter in your head that just an alarm bell goes off and goes, I can't reach my ass crack. I
right.
can't reach my ass crack. Time to lose weight.
I remember
How?
somebody telling me a story of some fat guy that they worked with that they said, I've been in the bathroom with this guy multiple occasions where he takes a shit and immediately gets out of the stall, meaning like he did not wipe his ass. Like there was no time elapsed. And he goes, I thought about it. And he's like, it's because he can't reach his ass. And I'm like, dude, when that moment happens, you gotta fucking put down the food. Like you just have to. But you to touch on your point about the food being processed, I was listening to a Rogan episode. He had some guy named Gary Brecker on. Have you ever heard of him?
Nah.
It's like he's the guy that got Dana White into fucking fantastic shape. Dana White lost a shit ton of weight. He was kind of like on death's door. He looks fucking amazing now. But I listened to a lot of what he said, and he talked about the processed food. And he said, whenever you see the words like enriched flour, enriched wheat, he's like, it's fucking awful for you. And he compared it to like, he goes, you ever go to Italy and eat pasta? He goes, you don't gain an ounce because
No.
that's how the flour is supposed to be. And I was like, that's interesting. And then he said this, he goes, that's why so many people have great results with the carnivore diet. He goes, yeah, sure, they're going into keto, but he goes, they're also getting all of these modified foods out of their system. And I was like,
Mhm.
that's interesting. So when I started 75 hard up, I was having a tough time shedding some pounds this time around, which I find shocking because that never happens to me. And I just said, well, this is weird. I go, maybe I'm going to give carnivore a try. So I switched the diet recently to carnivore, and it's early on into it, but I'm like, I already see some results on it.
Alex Jim Papa's been doing that for like a year.
Carnivore?
Yeah, he's had tremendous fucking success, dude. He's been going, and then he's going like 5 days fasting in between.
Oh,
Um, like he's
in
like
good shape to begin with.
he was already in good shape, but he was saying he feels amazing. I've had a hard. I've made a change where I'm just not. I'm eating. I've gone paleo, where I just eat meat, vegetables, and fruit. Like I'm not no candy, no pizza, no pasta, none of that shit. And I've been having
There's no,
success. But if you get the chance, there's a series on Netflix called Life to 100 in a blue zone. And blue zones are where people live to 100. Then there's a few of them around the world. and Sardinia is one, Okinawa, Japan, Costa Rica, Greece, some Greek islands, usually in warm weather places where people are physically active and they're like, it's what they're eating. They're not eating processed foods. That's a big one. So, because what the Italian women were making, they were making their pasta different. They weren't making it with the bullshit we use here. And
Right.
the other thing, this is the biggest thing above all that shit, because all that helps. It was community. It was having a sense of community. And for a lot of these people, it was going to church or praying. So that's one thing you get out of faith. But community, without community, you die early. If you're alone, if you feel alone inside, you start to fade a lot fucking faster.
I was talking to one of my buddies, and he was telling me about this Jewish guy that he's friends with who, for lack of a better phrase, does really not follow like the Jewish lifestyle, if you will, but yet he's like religious about going to temple and being part of the community. And my friend kind of said something to him like, yeah, well, it's not for nothing, but I know how you live your life, and it doesn't really seem in line with, you know, the church life that you go to every Sunday, and you're always with this group. Because I do it for the community. He's like, I can't tell you how valuable the community is to my life, and I'm like, there's a lot of validity to it.
Yeah, it's of all, like, we get a lot of things in front of us here in the U.S., whether it's processed foods, a hyper antagonistic society, but like the idea, like the lone wolf idea, it's not real. And unfortunately, with a lot, human beings need to be in a pack. You got to have a group of people who I have people who call me up and talk to me, and we talk about, sometimes people listen to the show who message me and go, hey, dealing with some stuff. And I go, I'd say almost 100% of the time, they're usually lacking in that. Trying to, especially if you don't have it at work. Like if you're working, like what you said, if you're in an environment where you're at a serious disconnect from your coworkers or the culture around you, like say how you felt a lot of times in Boston comedy, you're going to, like, that disconnect is going to cause you mental harm. So like if you can't connect with any of the people you're with, you don't feel like you're a part of a team, and you're spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week with them, you're fucked.
Yeah. I mean, I look at how much I perform now versus what I performed when I first started. And I'm like, I found it so easy to go out because I enjoyed seeing people every single night.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I just don't have the connection with people on the same. I'm not going to say like I don't have the connection with any of them. That's far from true. But I'm like, when you know that you're going to go out and all right, you're going to perform, it might go bad, it might go great, who knows? But you're going to see these people and you're going to enjoy being around them. And there's that sense of community. It was fucking great. And I'm like, I just don't feel that in Boston anymore.
I think what most people who get into like drugs and shit, what they really miss, what they're trying to get, is that feeling you had when you first started getting fucked up as like a teenager. And it's not the booze. It's that you were out on a Friday night with 20 people or however many people, and you were just happy to be there with them. And it's not even, it was just that you were with people. You waited all week to see friends, and you were excited just to be with your friends.
I want to say that you're accurate on that, but this was back when we were in school, so we would be seeing people all the time. But I mean, the idea of me going out and being with 20 friends in a given night now, I mean, that's kind of outrageous. Like,
Yeah,
that'll happen maybe at a Christmas party. That's it.
Even if you have like 5, if you get 5, you're lucky. As you get older.
Yeah.
What I keep hearing as I get older is everyone has their family and they drift apart. But like I've been to tribal societies, you have your family, but you're still a part of the tribe. You still hang out with it's not like you have to, like, hey, I got married, I got to build a hut on the other side of the mountain, and I guess I'll see you guys whenever my wife lets me, or whenever we're not taking gay pictures for fucking Christmas. It's like, no, now I have a wife and kids in the hut, and my best buddy, Tic Tac, lives next door. and my other best buddy lives 3 huts over. But we're still like, and your
Yeah.
friends are in your wife's life, they're in your kid's life. You're still a thing. You don't lose that. You don't have to lose that. It's just that,
I still hang out with high school friends, college friends, like a lot.
me too.
I mean, I probably have a handful of each that I will see on some level of consistency, and there's text threads, which, isn't the same, but, still connection with the people. But, yeah, I'm fortunate. I have a lot of very good friends. I counted one day and I was like, I think I had over 15 people that I'm like, at one point or another, this person was my best friend. Like, they might not be my best friend right now, but this person for like 3 years, we were thick as thieves.
Mhm.
And I still keep in touch with like all 15 of them. So,
Real quick, because we're running out of time. What is your go-to exercise if you really want to lose weight fast?
I'm probably not the person to answer it, but kettlebells are supposedly fucking amazing for it. But my short answer is resistance training.
Yeah.
It's so much better than cardio. And walking every day for 40, like when I had the injured back, I couldn't run. I just couldn't. And lifting certain weights was out of the question. So like I just was like, all right, let's throw on a weighted vest and go for a walk. Dude, getting up in the morning and walking 45 minutes and then walking 45 minutes in the afternoon, like it was setting me such a sense of peace. It was crazy. And the
Mhm.
ideas coming up with for comedy were fucking, it was absurd. I mean, you'd be blown away just what walking will do for your creativity. Sometimes you can listen to music, but sometimes it's good just to have your silence.
I used to do all my early writing just walking around Boston. So I can attest to that. Real quick, where can people find you?
From right now, my only real active social is Intoxicating Masculinity Comedy on Instagram and Don Zollo Comedian on Facebook.
Did you change your name recently?
I changed it a couple months ago. I hate how long it is, but it says what I'm about,
It's, it's a lot.
I don't like how wordy it is, but
It's a
it
lot.
paints the picture. I'm thinking about changing it because it is wordy. I'm like,
Shorten it. Just you can